everybody, and welcome to my PE 575 video on demonstrating stretching techniques. So what exactly is stretching? Stretching is when someone deliberately extends the muscle to improve elasticity, increase range of motion, reduce injuries, and potentially improve performance. Let's talk a little bit about the different types of stretching. There is static stretching, dynamic stretching, PNF stretching, which we'll get into, and partner stretching. This video will cover static, PNF, and partner stretching with our video demonstrations. So first, just to briefly explain, static stretching is when you're holding a stretch in a muscle for 15 to 30 seconds, usually in 2 or 3 reps with no dynamic movement. Dynamic stretching is when you are moving a muscle to the end of its range of motion and quickly backing off and repeating that in a dynamic fashion, so not holding it at the very end of the range of motion. And PNF stretching, which stands for proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, is when you're using an antagonistic kind of push and pull to help release the muscles around that you're going to be stretching. Partner stretching is when you're using another person to help you stretch with either dynamic, static, or PNF stretches. And principle number 1 of our stretches we want to focus on is to stretch the fascia and not just the muscle, making sure we're targeting all the layers of connective tissue and fiber. And principle number 2 is to synchronize your breathing to tune your nervous system, making sure that we're following our breath while we're doing these stretches to ensure that we get all of our nervous system aligned with those stretches. Principle 3 is to focus on our range of motion and flexibility without pain, making sure that our clients or ourselves are not actually dealing with pain, just a little bit of discomfort. And lastly, principle 4 is to stretch in multiple directions based on your sport or activity's specific needs, making sure we're using stretches that actually help our sport. The following videos are going to cover static self-stretch in the quadriceps, static self-stretch in the hamstrings, PNF self-stretch in the quadriceps, partner PNF stretch in the quadriceps, and a partner PNF stretch in the calves. So enjoy. All right, I'm going to demonstrate a self-static stretch for your quadricep. And it might help if you're either on a flat surface and if you have something about hip height or a wall or something to kind of keep your balance with. And so with whatever object you're balancing on, you're going to go ahead and first you're going to take a deep breath. Make sure that your core is engaged, your glutes are firing, and that you're maintaining a steady breathing rhythm while you're performing the stretch. You're going to go ahead and pull your heel up towards your glute. You're going to grab either your ankle or the foot, the same side, and you're going to pull that leg, extending the quadricep muscle and stretching it out. And you're going to hold this. It's a static stretch. We're going to hold for 15 to 30 seconds. Again, making sure we're maintaining that engagement through the core, making sure we're keeping our breathing steady. And we want to make sure that we're on the edge of feeling a little bit of discomfort through the stretch, but certainly not pain. So once you've held that for about 15 seconds, you're going to go ahead and relax. And you can do, shake it out, get the blood flowing a bit, and you can go ahead and do the other side. Again, either holding on the ankle or just above the ankle or on the foot. Something else you can play around with is whether you want the foot pointed, and a little bit of resistance might turn it into more of like a PNF stretch, but you can be kind of pushing through or just pulling back with your arm. And you can do that with either a pointed foot or a dorsiflexed foot, or you can just keep your foot relaxed, and you can kind of see which one feels the best and is giving you the best stretch that you need. So again, make sure that core is really engaged, the pelvis is tucked lightly, and you're maintaining your breathing through the stretch. And again, hold that for about 15 to 30 seconds. And once you've completed the second side, you can repeat that for about 2 or 3 repetitions. All right, I'm going to demonstrate the static self-stretch for the hamstrings. There's a few ways you can do this, but I'm going to demonstrate my favorite way. And first, you're going to go ahead and find a comfortable place to sit. It could be on a mat or an even surface. And go ahead and make sure your sit bones are firmly planted on the ground. Extend your legs as much as possible in front of you. You can see that I've got very tight hamstrings, so my knees want to be raised up a little bit. If that is a problem for you, you might want to consider either sitting on a block or two to help make sure that your pelvis is raised and you can keep straight back while you're performing the stretch. Something like a pillow may work as well if you don't have blocks. And once you're in this position, you want to make sure you're taking a deep breath And keeping your legs straight, you want to hinge and get the stretch in your hamstrings. If you're unable to reach your feet or toes, you can use a strap to help you reach them. Now, this is not a PNF stretch where you're actively resisting against the movement. So I'm not, pushing or pulling in resistance. This is simply just to target the hamstrings and really get into those hamstring muscles. So you can go ahead and pull and make sure that you're engaging the hamstrings. Make sure that your core is engaged and you're breathing throughout the stretch. If you're someone that's very flexible, you may use one of the blocks or something else to put even further across your feet so you can have that additional length to help you stretch the hamstrings. And you're gonna hold that for about 15 to 30 seconds, and you can do 2 or 3 repetitions for that stretch. One other alternative method for this hamstring stretch is if you have very, very tight hamstrings like me, and you really want to focus on making sure that you are keeping a straight spine and engaged core, you can have your arms underneath your legs, and you can grab on the lower part of your calves or ankles. Make sure that you have as much bend in the knees as possible to kind of maintain that proper posture in the stretch. And you're gonna extend through the heels as you push down the hamstrings. So it's really gonna target the hamstrings. You can see my legs are even shaking there. They're getting the stretch so well. So this is just another option for those of you that have very tight hamstrings and wanna really target the hamstring without sacrificing having a really rounded back and kind of keeping engagement through the core and spine. So again, static stretch, hold for about 15 to 30 seconds and perform 2 to 3 repetitions. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate a self PNF stretch for the quadriceps. If you have any cats in the way, you might wanna have them shoo off so you have enough room to stretch. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and pick a side. I'm gonna go ahead and start on my left side, which means that I'm going to be stretching my right quad. And I'm gonna go ahead and lay down on that side, left side. And if you'd like to place a pillow or a block underneath your head, it might keep your neck a little bit more relaxed, because without that, it might be a little bit uncomfortable with it dangling down. So I like to use a block to kind of help keep that neck supported, and it's a little bit easier to breathe through the stretch as well. So if you're laying on your left side, like I am, you're gonna go ahead and pull your heel back towards your glute, just like you were gonna be doing a static quad stretch. But this time we're gonna be adding the PNF element, so that active resistance in the opposite way. And so some things to kind of think about, again, making sure that your core is engaged, your hips are they're staying relatively level. Your knees not really far out into the side like this. You really want it tracking along with your pelvis. And what you're gonna do is, after kind of doing a quad stretch and seeing kind of where that range of motion is you're gonna bring your opposite foot. So since I'm stretching my right quad, I'm gonna have my left foot and ankle go over my knee. And this is where the resistance element comes in. I'm gonna go ahead and push through my knee and resist against my left foot and leg, pushing into that knee. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold that for about 6 seconds, making sure I'm breathing throughout the process. So I'm gonna go ahead and start pushing and resisting. 1, 3, 5, 6. And once you've done that for about 6 seconds, you can go ahead and relax and go ahead and start stretching that quad again. Again, keeping the pelvis slightly tilted upright, that core engaged, and you're breathing steady. And after you're done holding that stretch for about 5 seconds or so, you're gonna go back into that sequence. So actively pushing with the opposite leg to the quad that you're stretching. So in my case, the left leg's gonna be pushing down into the knee. I'm gonna be driving that knee to resist the pushing. I'm gonna hold that for about 6 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And okay, after that, I'm gonna go ahead and stretch the quad again. Hopefully have some noticeable increases in my range of motion. And I'll go ahead and perform that one more time. And of course, if you finish one side, you should do the other side with the same duration to make sure that it's all even. Hey everybody, this is my partner Katie. She's going to help us demo the partner PNF stretch for the quadricep. So first, Katie, I'm going to have you lie down on the mat, face first. Yep. And what we're going to do is I'm going to have you pull your heel towards your glute using your hamstring. And if you've got pretty tight quads, you're going to see that there's a pretty big distance between her heel and her glutes there, indicating that there's some tightness in her quad area. And what we're going to do with the PNF stretch is there's going to be some active resistance happening here. And so as I'm pushing your heel towards your glute, I want you to push back out away from me, resisting my push. So we're going to hold that for about 6 seconds. Then we'll repeat that 2 or 3 times depending on how much we can kind of handle. And some things to think about: make sure you're still breathing through the process. Try not to have your hips rotate at all. Keep them kind of level and straight, and make sure that your belly button is keeping contact with the mat. Okay, so go ahead and I'm gonna start pushing, and you can go ahead and resist. So we're gonna hold that for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm gonna let go, and you can kind of pull that back towards your glute and see if there's a little bit of a increased range of motion there. All right, we'll go again. So I'm gonna start pushing, you can resist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good job not moving the pelvis much, keeping everything kind of going straight forward and back. How does it feel so far?
Feels good.
Cool. Shake it out a little bit, get some blood flow. And let's do one more. I'll make sure I'm holding your foot evenly on both sides. I'm gonna push down, go ahead and resist. 1, 2, 3, 4, make sure you're breathing. 5 and 6, and you can go ahead and pull that back towards you. Hopefully there's a little bit of increased range of motion there. I guess we can see on the video, but great job, you did great. All right, we finished the partner PNF stretch for the quad. Of course you want to do both sides to make sure it's even on your athlete or client. And now we're going to be doing the second step of that stretch, which is going to be adding a little bit of hip extension. And so, Katie, what we're going to have you do is I'm going to place my hand on your upper glute here, almost on like your hips in the back, to keep them stable and grounded. And I'm going to have you keep your legs straight, and we're going to lift up kind of underneath the knee and quad here. And as I lift it up behind you, I want you to do the same thing we did before, where you're actively resisting against my pulling. So go ahead and resist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, go ahead and relax. And make sure you're breathing through this. Again, keep your belly button down flat on the mat, and make sure your hips are kind of staying level. So again, we're gonna lift this up. Looks pretty good. And go ahead and push and resist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great job. Same thing, let's see if we can get it a little bit higher this time before we start the resistance. All right, we're gonna go ahead and lift up, and then go ahead and resist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, how's that feel? Awesome. All right, this time we're gonna do the partner PNF calf stretch. And so I'm gonna have Katie go ahead and sit down on the mat, and you're gonna have your legs straight out in front of you. And you could do this up against a wall with your client, or you can have them, rest their hands behind their hips like Katie's doing here. And so, similar to what we were doing with the quad stretch, we're gonna have your feet extended just like you're doing now. And don't flex them just yet. I'm gonna kind of just push them back and see if we can kind of get a good stretch going in the calf. And now from this point, I want you to, again, resist. So push up kind of like you're doing a gas pedal up against my hands. I'm gonna make sure my hands are below on the arches of your feet, not up on your toes. And I'm gonna start pushing, and you can start resisting. We'll hold that for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or you can go ahead and relax. Let's see if got a little bit more range of motion there. Again, make sure you're still breathing through it. All right, go ahead and we'll start pushing again. So go ahead and resist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, go ahead and relax. Shake it out a little bit. And last one. All right, I'm gonna start pushing, and you can resist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you go ahead and relax. We'll just go ahead and push one more time. Does it feel like it's getting into your calf?
Feels good.
Awesome. And that's another partner PNF stretch that you can do with your clients.